There's only one player in NBA history that has an NCAA championship and 3 gold medals while being top 10 all-time in points, and that's Carmelo Anthony. It's been a while since Melo was one of the marquee names in the league, so today we'll be going over what happened to Carmelo Anthony. Growing up in Baltimore, drug use and crime were at an all-time high, so Carmelo used basketball to keep him on the straight and narrow. In middle school, Melo was a skinny point guard. This helped him develop his shooting and ball handling. It didn't last long though, as he hit a growth spurt in high school and transitioned into a 6'5" swingman. His junior year, he was great on the court, averaging 23 points and 10 rebounds. The problem was that he was ditching school and had bad grades. While Melo did have an offer to attend Syracuse prior to his senior year, academically he didn't qualify, and as a result, he transferred schools to Oak Hill Academy. He instantly made Oak Hill one of the most watched high school teams in the US. When Oak Hill matched up with LeBron James and St. Vincent, it became one of the most watched high school games of all time and an instant classic. With over 11,000 in the crowd and 200 plus media members in attendance, the young friends went back and forth. LeBron scored 36, but Carmelo scored 34 with 11 rebounds, leading Oak Hill to the victory and finishing the season with a 32-1 record. Melo would then ball out in the McDonald's All-American game and win the Sprite Dunk Contest. This had all of the major universities recruiting him, but he decided to go where he originally wanted to attend, Syracuse. Melo had an outstanding freshman season, averaging 22 points and 10 rebounds while helping guide the Orange Men to their first NCAA championship in 2003. Even though the plan was to stay 3 years in college, he already accomplished his collegiate goals and decided to declare for the 2003 NBA Draft. With LeBron going first overall in Cleveland, Melo was the consensus pick at number 2, but instead, Detroit surprised everyone by taking Darko Milicic. This left Melo to get picked 3rd overall by the Denver Nuggets. Anthony was excellent by all standards during his first few years in Denver. As a wide-eyed 19-year-old, Melo averaged 20, made all-rookie first team, and took his team to the playoffs all in his first year. And by his 3rd year in the league, he was already averaging 26 points per game as one of the league's most elite scorers. Carmelo followed up a career year by making his first All-Star team and being named to the All-NBA 3rd team for the 2nd straight year. After a couple more early postseason exits, there was speculation that Melo wanted out, and eventually he was traded to the New York Knicks during the 2010 season. Melo had developed into an all-world scorer and an all-star caliber player in Denver. While he made the playoffs for 9 straight years, the Nuggets never had the chemistry or maturity to advance past the first round more than once. Carmelo was looking to play in a bigger market so he could expand his brand, and New York was exactly that. The problem was that the Nuggets were better than the Knicks, and the roster was more suited to play off Melo with players like Chauncey Billups, J.R. Smith, and Danilo Gallinari. On the other hand, New York really only had Amari Stoudemire and would end up trading 4 of their 6 best players to get Carmelo. The lack of patience from both the Knicks and Melo would cost them in the end. If they had waited until the offseason, then he could have just signed with New York. Instead, the Knicks gave up a bunch of their assets, and when Carmelo got there, the cupboards were bare. He was putting up all-star caliber numbers immediately in New York, but he wasn't willing to share the spotlight. Since Stoudemire was often sidelined with injuries, nobody really challenged Melo's spot on the team until Jeremy Lin showed up. Lin's story was captivating and had every NBA fan rooting for him during the 2012 season. And even though he didn't stay at the level he tapped into during insanity, he was still a valuable piece. Multiple teammates were anonymously quoted saying Carmelo didn't like how Coach D'Antoni ran a lot of sets through Lin and got jealous of all the hype he was receiving. Lin was a great fit, but when the Rockets offered Lin a 3-year deal worth $25 million, Melo called it ridiculous. Even though the Knicks had previously stated they'd match any offer on Lin, they coincidentally passed after what Carmelo had to say about it. Though Jeremy Lin didn't pan out, that's not the point. The Knicks were in position to keep a star-level talent at the time, but deferred because of Melo's desire for the spotlight. Surprisingly, the following season ended up being the last time that Melo would make the 2nd round. Though he did lead the league in scoring, it wasn't enough as they lost to the Pacers in 6 games. And after that was when the Knicks and Melo things unraveled. For the first time in his career, Carmelo missed the playoffs, and what did the Knicks do about it? Handed him a 5-year deal worth $120 million with a no-trade clause. The confusing part was, Melo had a chance to join the Chicago Bulls, but instead opted to stay in New York. While Carmelo cited loyalty, many fans believe it was the extra $50 million the Knicks offered. Chicago was a team that Melo could contend with. They were a defensive team that could cover his weakness. They just needed a scorer. Plus, the Knicks lacked talent and couldn't stay healthy. We may never know if loyalty or money was the real reason behind Melo staying in New York. What we do know is that the move wasn't very beneficial for Melo nor the Knicks. The dagger in the coffin was the Phil Jackson saga. and it can be summed up as simply as this. Phil Jackson is a good coach, but Phil Jackson is not a good GM. The only good move Phil made in New York was drafting Porzingis. That's it. Other than that, he just gutted the roster, traded quality players, and signed ridiculous contracts. A complete disaster would be an understatement. And when it came to Melo, Phil was constantly criticizing him, including the comments that Carmelo might be better off somewhere else. But Melo was very professional and respectful. He just wanted a hoop. The comments by Phil actually rallied people who disliked Melo before to his side with how they were treating him. Under Phil and Melo, the Knicks missed the playoffs 4 straight seasons. And by then, Carmelo was 32 and it was clearly time to move on. Phil spent months trying to find a deal that Melo liked, since he had a no-trade clause. But ultimately, the drama between the two would end with Melo getting traded to Oklahoma City and Phil Jackson getting fired. Carmelo linked up with Russell Westbrook and Paul George on the Thunder, but it just didn't go as planned. Melo's averages dropped from 24 points and 3 assists to just 16 points and 1 assist, with poor shooting percentages across the board. Unfortunately, they dropped even more come playoff time, and OKC was eliminated in the first round. After a disappointing season in Oklahoma City, Carmelo was traded to Atlanta, where he was then waived by the Hawks. But before the 2018 season started, he signed with Houston and was viewed as a good pickup. Melo had some of his best seasons under D'Antoni in New York, so the fans in Houston were expecting a 20-point scorer that could take some pressure off of Harden. Instead, they got somebody who struggled to make rotations on defense and couldn't score as efficiently as the team would have hoped. Melo played in just 10 games for the Rockets, but it was clear he didn't fit. So he was traded to Chicago in late January, where he was then bought out. Unfortunately, nobody wanted to sign the 12-time All-Star, even with the playoffs approaching. Carmelo would head into the next season without being signed to a team. But with significant injuries to their roster, Portland took a chance on him. And to the surprise of many, after a year-long absence, Melo started to play well again. He finally swallowed his ego and bought into a team concept which allowed him to become an effective role player. He shot threes, moved without the ball, and gave more effort on defense. This was the Carmelo that many of us wanted to see a good 4 or 5 years prior to his time in Portland. Just like Olympic Melo, he had finally become a player that was willing to spot up on the perimeter and fit into his role. After 2 years in Portland, Melo was signed with the Lakers and linked up with his longtime friend LeBron. Surprisingly enough, at 37, Carmelo put up the most efficient shooting percentages of his career, showing that he was still a great offensive talent and actually quite inefficient in his prime. As we look back on Carmelo's career, a couple of things are for certain. He was easily one of the best ISO scorers for a decade. Kobe even said he was the toughest player he ever had to guard. Melo had great footwork, deceptive athleticism for his size, and a soft shooting touch. The combination of these skills are what made him a top 10 all-time scorer. While all of that can be true, it can also be true that the Nuggets and Knicks never really gave enough help to truly contend for a title. Over the years, he had great individual teammates, but rarely were their teams built for playoff success. But you can't blame all of it on the rosters. Melo was also flat out stubborn, whether it was fighting with coaches, refusing to play bigger at power forward, or being lazy and disengaged on defense. It was always something. He just wasn't the leader that the Nuggets and Knicks needed. And it doesn't come from a place of negativity. It's a fact that if put in the right situation, his career could have been totally different. A classic NBA what if. Regardless, Carmelo Anthony had a great career and nobody can take that from him. He's still a 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA selection, scoring champion, Hall of Famer, and was named to the NBA 75th anniversary team. Thanks for watching. Make sure to let us know what video you think we should do next down in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more NBA content.